Detective Jacqueline came up.
Jacqueline was definitely leading the crusade against him. She was saying some things that, my aunt didn't like to hear. But, he was just making the margaritas, and, he said I could take her out from 1,000 yards out. And my aunt kind of laughed. She just thought it was just funny. And for me, it wasn't something that typically I've ever, had a funny conversation about that. But like I said, the part of me that just let it fall off my back like a water on a duck's back is, hey, he came from Iraq and he probably had a lot of emotional, mental issues, and that was probably 5%, but 95% I was just like, this is strange. So that was
And houses in Newport Beach and Palm Springs, as would befit a successful doctor. One day the private eye came back with some preliminary information. Shad studied it. The report said John had a nursing license, not a doctor's license, that he had a bankruptcy on his record, and that he'd been associated with addresses in Arizona, Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, and across California. One of the recent addresses was on Date Palm Drive in Cathedral City, in Riverside County, out in the California desert. The report said this was an RV park. His curiosity gnawing at him, Shad started making calls.
I spoke to the lady that was running the trailer park. And initially she wouldn't give me the information, but then once I kind of convinced her that John Meehan was married to my mother, which I lied to her, and just told her I needed to get some information, she said, yep, he lived here, and then he left, and I haven't heard from him since.
There was another address linked to John Meehan. It was 550 North Flower Street in Santa Ana. This was the county jail. Shad worried about sharing this information with Deborah. He worried that anything he told her would get back to John.
I got home from work, put my keys in the door, and noticed a package at my feet. A slim box. Inside, photographs, documents, and a letter. I don't know the man who wrote it. I don't know if I want to. He hinted at things that most people don't want to contemplate. And closed the letter with a long string of numbers. They were times. 1:30, 4:15, 3:45. It was a code. And I was hooked. Introducing Hunt-A-Killer, a monthly subscription where you become a detective.
The deal, he had to leave California. John got a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Arizona in 1988, and that fall, he enrolled in law school at the University of Dayton. I found a man named Kevin Horan who happens to be an FBI agent now, but in the fall of 1988, they were law school classmates.
I don't know if it was an air about him or the way he wore his clothes or the way he, looked or whatever. He just kind of had a look of like a California guy. I don't know why that stuck out with me, but it did. But
he says John didn't make a strong impression as a student. He made his name in other ways.
I was living with some buddies right there on campus, and they were the ones that really got to know him, and I think it pretty much coined the phrase that I came to know of him. It called him Dirty John, and again, that had to do with anything at all about him. And here I lived with him. I want to say it probably was that semester. I was noticing he was bringing girls back to the house.
One of them was Tanya Sells, a pretty young nurse. She seemed so nice and innocent that Kevin had to wonder how John had won her.
Here's an intelligent, articulate, decent-looking guy at the University of Dayton Law School who, seems to have his life together.
This is Tanya, who now lives outside of Atlanta.
He would tell you story after story about, that he just comes from this family that's just not him. And, that he was able to escape them because other people stepped up into his life and helped, make him a great person.
A The last semester of the second year of law school, John disappeared.
Completely vanished. And no one, I was talking to everybody, and everyone's like, what happened to Dirty John? And like, everyone's like, I don't know, he just didn't come back. You know, kind of peering through the envelope, you know, the light peering through it, that, you know, I remember seeing a bunch of D's and F's. And so we knew that he was done, that he had basically flunked out.
Kevin says John's mail kept arriving at the house, boxes of CDs, credit cards, and fictitious names. It was clear that John had been running scams. Kevin says John also took money from an older woman for a roofing job he never completed. I found another law school classmate of John's, Lance Gildner, who says John seemed proud of the credit card swindle, not sheepish about it at all. Lance thought, this guy is committing felonies. So the name Dirty John, it started with his womanizing, but it seemed to grow and evolve and encompass a bunch of other things that he did, like these housing scams, right?
It probably was a conglomeration of many different things that people knew about him that he was